So in this video, I am going to take you through 5 signs that an avoidant cares. So this is a question that comes up all the time. And I know it's because dismissive avoidants in particular, they tend to really keep their cards close to their chest. And they have a fairly deep emotional inner world, although they can be more disconnected from it than other attachment styles as a general rule. It doesn't mean they don't feel things and contemplate things and worry about things and care about things because they do. They just do not want to show it or express it. They really tend to not give off any of those sort of dynamics because they tend to be so afraid of being vulnerable and being seen as weak or shameful that they have feelings or emotions. Because if you're shamed or neglected for those things growing up, you essentially get conditioned to repress those things and hide them as a subconscious strategy, actually for safety and for acceptance. Also, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos. What we'll go through in this video is these 5 ways of telling when it can be hard to read whether or not a dismissive avoidant cares. And the very first thing, and I want to say one other thing actually first as a disclaimer, which is that if you're not sure if somebody cares, but you're kind of pining after that person, or you're not feeling great in the relationship, or if you hear these 5 things and you're like, you know what, my avoidant person in my life that I'm dating or getting to know, they do these 5 things, and yet you're not feeling fulfilled in the relationship or your needs aren't being met, then what you have to do is, you don't want to just be feeling like the needs that you have to be connected to or feel cared about aren't met, even if you can tell, through these 5 components that, oh, you know what, the DA does care. You have to be able to communicate what you need from this person, set a deadline. And if it's not getting met and you're not fulfilled, then maybe reconsider the dynamic, right? You shouldn't have to feel like you're in the dark all the time. But this can be a really great starting point to get really clear as to whether or not this person is investing, is interested, is wanting to pursue something with you, and then be able to tell what's going to work from there. And a lot of times, dismissive avoidance, when they're communicated from a partner, what their needs are, and they're communicated to in a healthy way and in the positive, like what you would love instead of what you're mad that isn't happening, right? I would love for you to take a turn and do the dishes instead of you never do the dishes. I'm so sick of it, right? You can see the difference communicating for a solution instead of against a problem. When you have these dynamics, that's actually going to be the place from which most DAs will show up. And if they're not, then they probably weren't going to anyways and may not in the future. So if you don't see the needle move, then you can reconsider the relationship dynamic. So 5 signs an avoidant cares. Number one, they make time and they initiate or reach out first from time to time. They may do this less than other attachment styles, and they may be inconsistent more than other attachment styles, but you'll still see enough consistency there that that dynamic is moving along. So, like, for example, you may not see a dismissive avoidant wanting to hang out 4 nights a week, but if they're really interested, they will make time every weekend, right? It may be a Friday one weekend and a Sunday another weekend, but they will make that time every weekend. So, if you're having somebody who never reaches out first, never makes time, only makes last minute plans, doesn't show up to follow through, then it's a sign that they're not really caring enough about the relationship to invest in it, right? It can be for many reasons. It can be that they're afraid or they're in a bad time of their life. It has nothing necessarily to do with you personally on the receiving end. But you have to decide, like, is the person ready for a relationship and will they meet my needs or not? Because so much of the lifeblood of relationships is all about an exchange of needs being met. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Number two, they may be inconsistent about communication back and forth, but there is more consistency than inconsistency. Okay. So, yeah, every little once in a while, every couple of days, a DA may take a really long time to text back or reschedule a phone call or go missing for a couple hours of the day because they can get really fixated in like their own world and they're self-soothing through creature comforts, or they can get distracted and they don't get a ton of their needs met in the same way through constant communication on the phone as you may see for like an AP or even perhaps an FA. But what you will see is that they are there eventually and they consistently talk. Like you'll speak with them every day if you're in the dating stage of the relationship and you're 6 weeks in or 8 weeks in, like the early stages when you're just getting to know somebody, they may speak and check in a couple times a week. But as there's this progression happening, there won't be, oh, I talked to you once a week when we've been seeing each other every weekend for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. There will be a progression happening where there's a back and forth, maybe, most likely not all day, every day, but perhaps, a couple times back and forth throughout the day. And again, they may go missing for half a day or something like that, but the consistency will far outweigh the inconsistency. Number three, they will give to you in their love languages. So they will show up for you through things like acts of service. If you're not familiar, Dr. Gary Chapman has a great book about the 5 love languages. And essentially, they are quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation. They're all pretty explanatory, those ones. Acts of service and gifts. The only one that's not very explanatory or self-explanatory is acts of service. And it's like doing things like cooking for you, picking you up, dropping you off, bringing you a coffee. These little like acts of love, gestures around love and expression of care. And it's interesting because a lot of dismissive avoidance, because they don't love vulnerability, they tend to sort of be biased towards love languages that are less vulnerable, right? So you're not going to see them be like quality time, physical touch, like those may feel a little more vulnerable to DAs. So you'll see instead that they tend to lean towards acts of service, like these more surface level acts, but they're not surface level if it's your love language, right? They're deeply received. So you'll tend to see that they express to you love through little gifts. That tends to be more female DA than male DA who express in that form, although not always the case, but especially in acts of service, like bringing you things, cooking, just going out of their way for you in these different forms. Number 4, they do open up slowly but surely. Okay. They may not open up as quickly as other attachment styles, but they will open up slowly but surely. And I want to highlight here that when they open up slowly but surely, it's like they want you to know about them because they're trying to vet and see, like, is this going to be a long-term relationship? Where are we at? So they will open up and make that effort to share their inner world. It'll just be at a pace that's much slower. But the main thing is not that how quickly the pace is moving, it's that you see a progression. And that progression will be sharing more intimate things about their feelings, their needs, their preferences, their fears, their flaws that they see in themselves. It won't happen the same pace as an anxious preoccupied, for example, or a securely attached person, but it will happen and the progression will be there. And then before I go to number 5, if you are in the dating stage of relationships and you're like, hey, I need some help and support for how to date consciously. So I pick the right partner. So I'm going to invest in the right people and to be able to tell the difference between who's a good fit for you or not. You can check out for free for 7 days using the link below, how to master the dating stage of relationships. It helps you prime your subconscious mind for secure and healthy relationship dynamics. It helps you get clear on your standards, your non-negotiables, understanding interest or not, setting deadlines in the dynamics that like maybe somebody's not a good fit for you or you're not sure. It helps you communicate and vet people effectively. Like all the things you need to know for how to be successful at dating are in there. So you can check it out for free for 7 days using the link below. And then last but not least, they ask about you. Dismissive avoidance, they're big vetters in the dating stage. They want to vet. So they will want you to know about them and see if they're a good fit for you, but they'll equally, if not more, also want to ask about you and understand, like, are you a good fit for them? And they'll want to deeply know these different things about you specifically. And they may not ask like super deep questions about your biggest fear, but they'll ask you things about yourself for how you would show up in the context of a relationship to see if you would be a good match or a good partner, because they tend to very much vet slowly and carefully and methodically and from a very practical perspective the vast majority of the time. Even though they may seem like they're just sort of taking their time and they're sort of aloof, usually behind the scenes, they're actually really quite analytical about their dating lives and who they're investing in and why and for what reasons, and is it going to be a good fit? And there's a lot of that in there and a lot of those wheels turning more than you would think. So after conducting many polls and surveys at the Personal Development School over the past few years, we have found that students come in and 92% of them become dominantly securely attached within 90 days if they focus on 6 crucial areas. These 6 crucial areas have to do with what it takes to become secure according to Gibson integrated attachment theory. And this is to tackle core wounds, learn your needs, learn to emotionally regulate, develop boundaries, communicate better, and update old behavioral coping mechanisms. Now, we have these roadmaps and course tracks laid out for you on the other side of when you join. So everything is simple and in front of you to help you take exactly the steps that you need to master your love life, create thriving relationships, and really see the results in your healing journey so you can let go of old wounds, old baggage, and truly leave it behind. And on top of that, included in this 30% off promotion for life, you also gain access to our daily live events, webinars. I'll be there 3 days a week to answer any questions that you have in your journey. And we have amazing certified integrated attachment theory experts who are there to support you with their daily live events and webinars Monday through Saturday. And this is a great opportunity to connect with like-minded people, to get your questions answered, and receive any extra bonus support that you need. And last but not least, we even have social events on a daily basis. So you can practice through a sharing circle, being a little bit more vulnerable, connecting with other like-minded people. You can practice through communication scripts, having tough conversations, and really modeling that out. And there are so many other supportive events that are there for you on your journey. So I would love for you to join and take this opportunity. I would love for you to be part of this challenge to become securely attached within that 90-day period. And I can't wait to see you on the other side. So those are 5 major signs, really important to pay attention to. If you're seeing all 5 signs, great. But then also make sure that like your needs are being met, that the person's a good fit for you, that the needle's moving in a way that feels good, and have that conversation. And if you don't see these 5 signs, don't take it personally. Just recognize sometimes people are not in the same space from a compatibility angle, right? They may not want the same things. They may not be in the same place in their lives. It may have nothing to do personally with you. So just be mindful about not taking that on. It's much more about programming than anything else. And just being mindful to set a deadline and do the work to remove yourself from a situation if it's not fulfilling, not changing, and not a good fit. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. And please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and I will see you in future ones.